We expect your unending contribution for the future of our panopticon, as long as you live. PlayStation. Orders are to reclaim captured citizens.
After more than a decade, Freedom Wars has been remastered for modern platforms. In this video, we'll take a look at the game in question. It's been almost 11 years since Freedom Wars was released for the PlayStation Vita. The game was developed by Japanese studio Dimps and is owned by Sony. At the time, critics had mixed opinions about Freedom Wars, and given the nature of the game and its style, it didn't become one of the best-selling titles on the Vita, reportedly selling fewer than 700,000 copies.
When facing abductors.
Perhaps the reasons for this title's lack of sales can be attributed to its style, some resolution issues, and the limited number of players on the PlayStation Vita handheld console. However, a remastered version of the game has now been released, published by Bandai Namco. In this article, we will examine this remaster. Unlike the original version, which was exclusive to the PlayStation handheld console, this remastered version has been released for the Nintendo Switch and PC in addition to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. The main focus of the game is monster hunting, and in a way it can be compared to the popular Monster Hunter series, although there are some differences. In the Monster Hunter series, the battles are slower than in Freedom Wars, and you have to apply more complex strategies to hunt each monster, because its battles are generally more difficult. But Freedom Wars is faster in this respect, and you have to act more decisively. Now let's examine the components of this game.
If it runs out of bullets.
Freedom Wars takes place in a terrifying future. Resources on Earth are extremely limited, and even survival is considered a crime. In fact, the price of life is facing 1,000,000 years in prison. Humans, or rather sinners, are sentenced to life in prisons called panopticons. Your job is to complete deadly missions and tasks to reduce your prison time. While you are known as a criminal, there are ordinary people called citizens, and your job is to save and protect these people from other criminals and enemies. In other words, citizens are better than you in every way, and you are worthless to them. But enduring these conditions is a small price to pay for freedom, isn't it? If that freedom can ever be achieved. In the words of Ahmed Shamlou, freedom, we didn't say it, you imagine it. Things get worse where every move a player makes may result in a fine and, as a result, an increase in prison time. You need permission from the panopticon to do almost anything. For example, you can't lie down without permission and must sleep sitting up. Or even running around the prison grounds for more than 5 seconds is considered a crime. So the player must be careful of their actions at all times. As time goes by and the player level up, it becomes possible to purchase more permissions. But how are these crimes discovered? Next to each prisoner, there is an accessory, humanoid robot, that constantly monitors him and does not leave the player alone for a moment. This robot also helps you during battles, and you can assign him various tasks, which I will explain in more detail below. Given the above explanation, we can see that we are dealing with an interesting story premise that has a lot of potential. However, in practice, the game does not use this potential, and in the best-case scenario we are faced with a mediocre and sometimes confusing story. In fact, this problem was also present in the original game, and naturally, this has not changed in the remastered version. By completing the specified orders and steps, the player's prison sentence is reduced. To access higher levels, one of the requirements is to reach a certain number of years in prison. Apart from this, to reduce your crime, you can donate items found on the battlefield, such as weapons and raw materials, to the panopticon to reduce your crime. Let's move on to the gameplay. As mentioned, this work conveys the feeling of an action role-playing game and even hack and slash. Your task is to hunt monsters, and you have to defeat giant enemies or, in other cases, humans in breathtaking battles. The player has 2 types of weapons that he can customize to his liking. Both cold weapons and firearms are present in the game, and each category has a good variety to give the player freedom in choosing his fighting style. There are a total of 6 categories of weapons in the game, and each weapon has its own rarity level, and similar weapons may have different powers and capabilities. Apart from these weapons, the player has an ability called Thorn, which allows him to attach to walls, enemies, and obstacles. By attaching to monsters and pressing a specific button for a certain period of time, he can knock them down, making it easier to attack them. There are 3 types of Thorn in the game: binding to trap or stun enemies, healing to restore health, and shielding to increase your and your team's defenses. This is your most useful item and will come in handy in a variety of situations. In each stage, you can choose 3 companions other than the main character to help you complete the stages. In some stages, this choice is yours, and in other stages, the game itself chooses people to accompany you. You can find new companions by talking to other people in prison. The possibility of exchanging accessories with other people is also provided. Among the accessories in the game are hand grenades, first aid kits, and mines. These companions can help you in combat, or revive you when you're killed. Of course, the AI of these companions is not at the highest level, and in some cases, you may even have to revive them multiple times. This was an issue in the original game, and with the remastering for newer generation consoles, this problem is more apparent than ever.
Enemy abductor immobilized. Advising.
Apart from the story stages, the game has a co-op section where up to 8 people can complete the stages together. This section can be played online and other players can join your game or you can join another game. Usually, the stages of the game are such that you have to save citizens and destroy monsters along the way, but there are other stages in the game. Among these, we can mention the competition to save citizens with other sects and stages to find raw materials. There are even some stealth stages in the game, but of course its mechanisms are immature and you just have to run at the right time and be careful not to be seen by enemies. In the meantime, mention was made of things such as the ability to upgrade weapons and abilities. In addition, the ability to customize the main character and his companion robot is also provided, although don't forget that you need a license to add some decorative items such as headsets or glasses. To summarize the gameplay, despite some problems, the game's battles are still attractive and enjoyable, and especially if you play with your friends, you will have fun moments for yourself and others. The remastered version also allows you to choose the difficulty level. Let's move on to the graphics section. The remastered version has improvements, including the addition of high-quality textures, support for 4K resolution, and support for a frame rate of 60 frames per second. Since the original game was a product for the Vita handheld console and this version is only a remaster, the game cannot be considered a leader in terms of graphics, but this does not mean that we are facing poor graphics, and the game receives a passing grade in the visual graphics section considering its price tag, although some textures are not of high quality.
Secure citizen. Enemy reinforcement.
But from a technical graphics perspective, there are still some problems in the game. For example, there is a short frame drop during very busy moments or when recording images of the game. Another problem in this section is the inconsistency between the dialogues and the movements of the characters' lips. The character movement animations also look strange and artificial in some cases, although this problem is more related to the original version than to the remastered version. The game's music is also designed to be completely in line with the game's atmosphere and conveys the excitement needed for the battles to the player well. Overall, Freedom Wars Remastered is a relatively good experience that has its own problems. Despite the optimization of the graphics and improvements to the gameplay, there are many things in the game that are incomplete. In fact, this defect is related to the original version of the game and is not something that a remaster can fix.
One more citizen reclamation required in order to meet quota.
Freedom Wars Remastered is a great opportunity for those who missed out on the game and wanted to, or enjoyed the original. Some of the issues with the original, such as the confusing story and weak AI, are still present, but the visuals and gameplay have been greatly improved. If you're looking for fast-paced, engaging combat and can overlook some of the issues, this remaster is a good option for you.
We got this in the bag! Alright, I'm gonna grab these and leave. We all saw this coming. Don't even try to—
Strengths: compelling combat, exciting music, significant graphical improvements, different and interesting storyline. Weaknesses: dumb and incomprehensible story, graphic issues such as frame drops, clumsy and superficial stealth stages, poor AI of player companions.
If you like this video, like it now, and become a member of our family by pressing the subscribe button. Activate the bell so you never miss our interesting videos.